So why don't I just jump right into it here? So
let's do it.
For a quick history lesson, in case anybody's curious to know, Slivers is one of the game's one of their longest running tribal creature type things. And it's kind of one of the de facto, like one of the ones that people really point to as, oh, there is your creature type synergy cards that really care about each other. You get type synergies across all kinds of creature types: elves, goblins, merfolk, humans, warriors, soldiers, birds, blah, blah, blah. Slivers have kind of always been that like mainstay one that like they are the hive mind aliens. They love having a lot of their cards down in play all at once and just mass spreading out the amount of abilities that they share. And finally having a pre-constructed deck for these types of cards, like, it's really funny. Slivers is one of those creature types that everyone loves to hate. Slivers are very fun to play, but sometimes they can be very oppressive on the receiving end of it. And I think this precon, even though it's not like the strongest right out of the box, it's a very good introductory. It's a very good slide into if you're looking to try to give this tribal, this gameplay style a go. Because mostly Sliver decks, you pretty much have to build them 5 color. There isn't really a reason to go less than 5, since you've got some of the best lords and the best tribal synergy Slivers that are all just 5 color. So this is a very good place to start with. The face commander for this deck is called the Sliver Gravemother. It is 5 mana for a 6/6 legendary Sliver. States that the legend rule doesn't apply to Slivers you control. Slivers in your graveyard have Encore X, where X is a Sliver's mana value, and then it itself has Encore for 5. Encore is very powerful. I play my own Dimir Encore Reanimator deck. Being able to scale how many token copies of a card that you have based on your opponents can be very, very strong, right? Like, something very simple in a deck like this, where like you're encoring a lord that says your Slivers get +1/+1, like Sinew Sliver.
Oh, nice.
Instantly popping out 3 extras of those for 1 combat. That's 2 mana to give all your things +3/+3 for at least 1 turn. And then anything else that's in here that cares about boosting it, if you need just like one last big push of that Sliver, hey, instead of 1 of them, how about 3 of them?
Yeah, strong.
Very strong.
I guess you could, since it's 5 color, if you wanted to run like Obeka in here. And
it's good, yeah. If you, Obeka or any of the same kind of tricks that you can do with Encore of like ending the turn, phasing out the tokens, canceling the trigger. Yeah. Those all apply to Encore here. Same exact reasoning.
Sick.
It's very good. And the reason that she states, the card on here states at the beginning of it, the legend rule doesn't apply to itself, is that so you could Encore herself or any of the other legendary Slivers, and you're not restricted by the legendary rule. So if you want to go busted strong and make 3 copies of Sliver Legion, go for it. You can do that. What's better than 1 coat of arms? How about 3 coat of arms? Yep,
Yikes.
exactly.
For the price of 1. It's like
for the price of 1.
Slivers.
Correct. The backup commander that comes out of the box in this one is actually surprisingly not a Sliver at first, but it can kind of become a Sliver if you need it to. Rukarumel, Biologist. She is 5 mana in Wooburg again for a 3/3 legendary human wizard. As she enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Slivers you control and non-token creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their other creature types. And the same applies to creature spells you control and creature cards you own that are not on the battlefield. And she can tap for 3 mana and create a 1/1 colorless Sliver creature token.
It's so good.
It's a very similar wording to Maskwood Nexus. Maskwood Nexus has the ability to turn all your cards either in play, on the stack, or in your hand into all creature types.
But it gets from the library as well, which Maskwood Nexus doesn't do. It's actually the worded like conspiracy, isn't it?
A little similar to conspiracy as well. Yes, you're right. You choose a specific and all your cards become that type.
Well, because everyone's talking about comboing her with the World Tree. Mm-hmm. It just grabs every creature from your deck.
The World Tree or the new Realm Breaker artifact that fetches out all Praetors. Same thing. Same thing applies. The intended purpose of a card like this in the deck is that you could put this into a deck with either, like, let's say there's a really good type tribal synergy piece that is not a sliver that you would like to try to put into your sliver deck. If you choose that specific creature's type with Rukarumel, your other slivers then become that type that you want. So, like, let's say there's a really fun, like, card draw or mana producing ability, but it comes from an elf and it cares about other elves. Rukarumel can turn your other non-token creatures and your slivers into elves, and then you'll then gain that ability.
That's so sick.
I'm pretty mid on it. I think it's kind of fine. I'm sure there's some definite weird, like, creature type synergies that you could try, some sort of like creature pairing combos, like changing their types into something else. But I think it's personally kind of,
it's a bit like Morphon. Like,
yes,
that's definitely like what the competition is in the command zone for a 5-color tribal commander.
Rukarumel, I think, definitely goes into Morphon, right? Because then if you're not already doing a mass, like, you know what I mean? Like, Morphon chooses a creature, then Rukarumel can pick something else, and then those cards in your hand gain the creature type that you want for Morphon, so that they're cheaper to cast. It's bigger brain than me, to be perfectly honest. Inherent, real deep in creature type synergy, not my forte, which is why I like slivers so much. Slivers, you do not have to think too hard about how they work. You just
slivers go burr.
Yep, slivers go burr. How are we going to go burr with these slivers? Well, this deck features 5 brand new creature card designs for slivers, 1 in each of the mono colors. And they are all pretty great. I'll plow through them here real fast here. For the white, we have Regal Sliver. 3 and a white for a 3/3. Slivers you control have, when this creature enters the battlefield, slivers you control get +1/+1 until end of turn if you're the monarch. Otherwise, you become the monarch.
Strong.
Very strong, yes. If monarch's not already in play, this one by itself gets the monarch going, and then any future sliver you get past that point, which is token or non-token. I'd like to point out, by the way, slivers are very good about that kind of thing. There are very few restrictions for slivers if whether the card is a token or a non-token. So any sliver you have, if you're not already the monarch, you regain it. And then if you already are the monarch and you've got a mass amount of tokens or slivers just in general coming into play, like say off of Encore or something that makes a whole lot of tokens all at once, you basically have an extra copy of, like, say, it's a card like Valor in Akros, or even just like a smaller scale Cathar's Crusade. Basically, 1 mass buff for a turn.
Nice.
That one's very strong. Taunting Sliver in blue. 3 in a blue for a 3/3 sliver. Sliver creatures you control have, when this creature enters the battlefield, goad to target creature an opponent controls. Goad has always been proven to be very strong in Commander as well.
Goad.
Goading helps get you through for combat damage because it's forcing your opponent to take creatures of theirs and send them somewhere else. So you're kind of like 2-for-1ing your best combat-based slivers. You are sending your strong stuff at the people who are goaded, and they are in turn sending their strongest things at somebody else. So you're kind of like 2-for-1ing your combats. And again, not restricted to token or non-token. So, like, you've got 3 slivers coming to play. Goad that, and goad that.
That's pretty sick.
Very strong. We've got Lazotep Sliver in black. This one is very fun.
Art.
I called this ability, by the way. I mentioned it in the Discord and say, like, oh man, they reworked the mask. Can you imagine a mass slivers? Called
Lovely.
it. 3 in a black for a 4/4 zombie sliver. Slivers you control have Afflict 2. Meaning if they become blocked, your opponent that's blocking them instantly just takes 2 damage. So no matter what, if they block or don't block, they're taking damage. And then when non-token slivers you control die, amass slivers 2. So this doesn't make, just like how regular amass cards work, this doesn't make a wide board of slivers. This makes a tall sliver.
Real quick, does Encore sacrifice at the end of turn?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so here's the cool thing.
But they're tokens.
Oh, so it's non-token slivers when they die, amass slivers?
Non-token slivers.
Got it. The thing is, though, Afflict does stack.
Yes,
so
it does.
If you encore this and you get 3 of them, they each have Afflict 6.
Well, Afflict 2 3 times, but yes.
Right. And same with the amass ability. They would have that stacked 3 times on it.
Correct. So if these token ones are getting in with non-token ones, then yeah, you can stack that all up.
This one's clearly made to be encored.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, Capricious Sliver. Capricious Sliver in red. This one can get very silly. 3 in a red for a 3/3 Sliver. Slivers you control have, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Impulse Draw. Impulse Draw.
Careful with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you encore it, you get that stacked 4 times. Because you get the original +1 for each other player, right? Or does encore you get 1 for each opponent?
Yes, you create 1 for each opponent. So it'd be 3.
So it stacks, and you essentially are impulse ancestral recalling every time a sliver hits your opponent. That will drain your library quickly.
Yes, it will. And that doesn't even keep an account for double strike either. Because that would
then
trigger
somebody
twice.
has an Orcish Bowmasters out, you'll just die.
No, because you're exiling it.
No, this is impulse draw. This is sending it to exile. This is sending it to
Jared.
exile.
Sorry, my bad. I was
Come
just
on,
thinking
Mono Red, get on
how cool
this.
that would be if you could do it, but you can't do it.
So
Ignore me.
The card draw Sliver is in this deck, just for clarification, by the way. It's a blue one called Synapse Sliver. When a Sliver you control deals combat damage, draw a card. That one is in here. So you've got that along with this in here as well. You get Impulse Draw. This one is sneakily dangerous because, like I said, it doesn't give you until your next turn to cast that thing. So, like, you're going combat, you've got to make sure you're able to cast these cards second main or they're gone. So on the one hand, it can be very, very strong, but like Joseph said, on a big enough board, you'd be losing a lot of resources to this if you're already like very far ahead. But I don't know. It's not my favorite one of the new card designs. My favorite Sliver, my favorite new one, probably apart from Regal Sliver because I like slivers, my new favorite one has to be Hatchery Sliver. This is the green one. One and a green for a 2/2 Sliver. This Sliver itself has Replicate for 1 and a green and states that each Sliver spell you cast has Replicate, and the Replicate cost is equal to its mana cost. Replicate is an additional cost that you can pay into spells. For as many times as you pay that cost, you make a copy of that spell. Copies of creatures become tokens.
That's kind of wacky, dude.
All these other lords that we were just talking about, Lazotep Sliver, Taunting Sliver, Regal Sliver, and then the reprint ones that come in here as well, like Bone Scythe and Cloud Shredder and Shifting and things like that. For as many times as you have that card's mana cost, you can make an extra copy of it.
Whoa.
Gosh, dude.
Well, and we know the obvious thing to do here, right? Is slot an Ornithopter into the deck. Because Rukarumel's already in there, which makes Ornithopter a Sliver. And then you just pay 0 infinite times and make infinite Ornithopters.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that, to be honest.
How did you think about that so fast?
Oh, I've been thinking about this for a while. I love Rukarumel.
Well, why not do Memnite so you at least have a power?
Why not both?
The whole deck is just, you take out everything but these cards. You play a bunch of like Genesis Wave. You have to bleep that.
That's very silly.
I'll have to bleep it. Whoops.
Yeah. I got you. This works very well as well with the main commander of the deck as well. Like you said, with Rukarumel, it works very silly as well. But this also can be very fun with Gravemother itself as well, since she states that the legend rule doesn't apply. So if you've got enough Wooburg sitting around, you could duplicate slivers like actually one that comes in the deck. Hive Lord is in here as well to give multiple instances of indestructible. Legion would be another silly one as well. Multiple copies of the first Sliver would stack as well, so all that cascading would be in here if you were to throw that one in.
Holy crap.
That's Hatchery Sliver can get very out of hand very fast. The deck,
oh my gosh.
So those are the new slivers. There are also new cards in here that they aren't themselves directly slivers, but they care about creature type synergy. So Titan of Littjara is one of those cards as well. 4 and double blue for a 6/6 illusion. As Titan of Littjara enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Titan is the chosen type in addition to its other types. And when Titan of Littjara enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. And then if you do, discard a card.
Fire.
For all
Straight
intents and
fire.
Yep. For all intents and purposes, it is repeatable Distant Melodies, which is a sorcery that says you choose a creature type and you draw a card for each creature of that chosen type you control.
Mm-hmm.
On a body like this means it's reanimatable, it's blinkable, it can you could double up its attack trigger somehow. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yep.
So good.
Just the fact that it can be any creature type and it's a 6/6, so it's very slottable into pretty much anything that's playing blue that cares about specific creature types. Spirits, merfolks, slivers, soldiers, I know, or knights. The Esper Knights from March of the Machine. Perfect in here. Perfect.
Anything that's blue and tribal that was already playing Kindred Discovery or Distant Melody is probably going to want this.
Mm-hmm. Another new tribal piece that's in the deck is Descendants Fury. It's an enchantment for 3 and a red. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice one of them. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrifice creature. Put that card onto the battlefield or the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a very fun and practical way to take advantage of any like tokens that might be a little bit lower to the ground in the deck like this that you were looking to either have sacrificed or turned into real creatures anyway. Like the Encore tokens that Sliver Gravemother can create. You can Encore out a token copy of something that was already going to die, connect with it, and then turn it into something new with Descendants Fury.
Sick.
So good.
And since it's generic creature type as well, so this kind of card again can go into any form of a red deck that is very tribal synergistic and wants to turn creatures into other creatures or have sacrifice triggers. You know, I can see this being very strong in stuff like knights and goblins, and if you're doing like say red based zombie decks.
Ooh, or goblins.
Turn a goblin token into Muxus. The last new card is for the Ancestors. 2 and a green for an instant. Choose a creature type. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of cards with the chosen type from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then it flashes back for 3 and a green. Decent card selection, right? Like, the problem, I think, unfortunately, with a card like this is that very creature top heavy decks aren't going to be wanting instants and sorceries and stuff like this. But I mean, I don't know. I suppose I could see this. I could see this card being very strong specifically for elves. You know, elves want to get tons of elves in hand, and it's playing a lot of the same creature type. So, I mean, I don't know. It seems fine, right? If you're looking to try to draw cards, it's unfortunately stuff like this can whiff. So.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, I think it could be strong in the right builds, but then again, creature heavy decks probably don't want stuff like this anyway.
Also, just play Harmonize. Just play Harmonize.
Yeah.
Drawing
Harmonize,
3 cards is always going to be better.
Yep.
So that's all the new cards as far as the new card designs that come in the Sliver deck itself as well. I'm just going to briefly touch on like some of the reprint stuff in here because
give me like couple of the really good reprints.
So there's something notable to talk about specifically for this deck as far as reprints are concerned. They brought this up as far as when the deck reveals were getting pushed, and this might be something interesting to note for people who would be interested in buying a deck like this. A lot of the pre-con decks for these 4 decks that came out or coming out for this set anyway, the new art budget got put into this deck specifically. For whatever the reason, and I understand the reasoning why.
It's to retcon the Predator slivers.
Correct, yes. This deck features reprints of pretty much all of the very good both at rare and uncommon slivers that they had between core sets 2014 and 2015. Those sets, if you were never playing back then, notably decided to sort of like design change how the slivers appeared, which I later learned, by the way, it was because they were planning to try to make a new creature type that embodied what slivers did, but were not slivers. But then they later on in design changed them to be slivers. They were supposed to be called something else, but I don't remember what that was. But the point was, that's why they were designed differently. It's like the art came back, and then they later designed them. They later changed them to be slivers, but that's getting off topic. The point is that some of the strongest ones you can play from Core 14 and Core 15, like Bone Scythe, Megantic, Gale Rider, Thorncaster, things like that, Siphon, they had very distinct artwork. And so all of those in this deck now have new art that embodies the very classic beak nose, one claw design that slivers are known from back in the Tempest Odyssey days, things like that.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So doesn't change their value per se. Slivers kind of always float in a very sort of like bulk to about $2-3-ish before you start getting into like the legendary ones. So this isn't going to inherently change its overall value of what those cards are, but for like sliver purists who need to have that beak nose look, here they are.
That's interesting.
A lot of the other just inherently good buff ones are in here as well. You've got, I think, as I mentioned about, like Sinew Sliver, Megantic Sliver, Might Sliver for just generic +1/+1s, +2/+2s, things like that. Cloud Shredder for flying and haste. Shifting Sliver for unblockable. That one is actually very nuts in here. Shifting Sliver. Games. Yeah, slivers can't be blocked except by slivers. Like, likely no one else is going to have slivers. That wins you games. That's incredible how strong that one is. Crystalline Sliver and Gemhide Sliver for the ability to have your slivers be Birds of Paradise. Very strong.
Yeah.
And Hive Lord. Sliver Hive Lord comes in this deck as well as a potential third option as a sliver you'd like to play. Give slivers indestructible. Just clean, easy, simple. I like it a lot. This deck is a 5-color deck, so as expected, when talking about precon status, the ramp and land package is subpar.
Those lands are absolutely atrocious.
It's rough in here, dude.
I'm not about to jump on the bandwagon again, but I do just want to make sure that it is abundantly clear that people know Sliver Hive is not in this deck.
What a mistake.
I'm sure everyone is aware of that by now, but it's a mistake. That was absolutely a mistake that this deck needed to have.
For everyone else, definitely not me, who doesn't know what Sliver Hive does. You want to read it off?
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend, yes, certainly.
For our viewers who don't know.
Sliver Hive is a land. It says either tap for colorless or just taps to make 1 mana of any color usable for slivers. And then for 5 mana, tap it, create a 1/1 sliver token, activatable only if you control a sliver.
That's like one of the most fair things.
Mm-hmm.
It's also so $50 now because it didn't get reprinted.
Yeah,
okay.
That's correct.
That's for a Commander's Master set, that would be kind of perfect.
Yeah. So out of the box, the mana production needs fixed, but as a package, it's not bad. Personally, right? If you've ever wanted to try to get into slivers, if you find this one at I'm going to be picking it up, right? I'm a sliver collector, actually, so I'm going to be picking this up specifically for my collection. But if you are ever interested to try one of Magic's most iconic creature types and something very fun to start working into, as far as like if you've ever wanted to go a very fun upgrade direction for playing 5-color, slivers are great. Slivers are lots of fun. I enjoy them a lot. This deck can be very fun. You can build it and send the slivers off into many different directions. You could go more enter the battlefield triggers. You could go more combat focused. You could go wide with tokens. They're very flexible. I enjoy slivers a lot. I think this deck is very decent. It has room for upgrade potential. Slivers, man, I love them. It's one of my favorites.
Very nice.
Man, I keep looking at the land base. Like everything enters
not only
tapped.
is it Sliver tribal, it is this land enters the battlefield tapped tribal.
Yeah, that's gonna be slow.
The fact that they put the slow fetch lands in that enter tapped, and then the things that they can fetch also enter tapped, and it's like
that's what got me.
Represents 2 turns of this one land stays tapped. On turn 3, you have 2 of your colors.
Yeah. Slivers take a little bit to get going, but like I said,
it'll snowball out of control. As soon as you have 5 or 6 mana in play and can play the Gravemother and start encoring things, like it is going to get insane.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would be mad if they reprinted like Mana Confluence. No one's going to be mad about that.
No, but that is a good upgrade. That and like City of Rest.